Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Cult of Chucky. Friends till the end. Remember?
Written and directed by Don Mancini, starring Fiona Dourif, Alex Vincent, Jennifer Tilly, and Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky. This film picks up shortly after Curse of Chucky ended. Fiona Dourif, Nica, has now been put into a psychiatric treatment center as people believe that she's schizophrenic and she has murdered her family. She's showing signs of improvement and they move her to a medium security ward where she meets a lot of other unstable people, and unfortunately is also open to Chucky attacks because, well, lower security means more risk for Chuckies. So what do we like? I love that we got another fucking Chucky movie because I love Chucky. I think a lot of you can agree. Little side note, wearing my cool Chucky shirt, busted that out because he's back.
They did a really good job tying everything in. I do like that Fiona Dourif was back in this one as Nica, and she was just as strong and just as awesome. Her character just grows to the next level by the time this film is done.
I really like the setting as well. I thought the setting was cool because it was like just an empty asylum. Well, like a semi-empty asylum, but it was just like white walls, long corridors. It's kind of one of those places that you know is gonna be weird and hard for Chucky to navigate, but at the same time, it opens up to sweet blood contrast on white walls.
Which actually gives us a really good kill, and one that was a throwback to Bride of Chucky. I really liked Andy in this film. I think this is like the Andy that we kind of expected he would become and wanted. He's a grown man who is ready to take care of himself and accept the fact that Chucky is always going to be a part of his life.
He should have done it in 3. Unfortunately, that wasn't a thing. But I think I've also come around on Alex Vincent since 2. Dumb as fuck in his decision making as far as an Andy character is concerned, though.
I loved all the nods in this film. They did a great job keeping it consistent and trying to tie the story in that sense.
A big part of this movie that I really enjoyed was there are a few aspects where they changed the mythos a little bit about how Chucky acts and, you know, his voodoo-ness. And it's kind of cool because you also have like a guessing game. Like there's multiple Chucky dolls and you don't know which one is going to turn around and murder someone. And so like it keeps you on edge. There's a sense of mystery and it adds like that thriller aspect and definitely is gonna catch people off guard.
Obviously, Fiona Dourif was one of our favorite characters, but I really enjoyed Multiple Malcolm. His character and his multiple personalities were very enjoyable in this film.
I think that can be said with like all of the different people in the asylum because you're dealing with crazy old ladies, one woman who like gets mad at a lot of things, and then you have like another woman who had obviously killed a baby in her past, and now she absolutely loves Chucky dolls, and she just like walks around with Chucky like the whole movie. And so just having all these different characters with all of their different personalities that you can never predict. You don't know what the next action's going to be from almost anyone in the movie. Before we leave likes, it's a must that I mention my bae, J. Tilla the Killer. Jennifer Tilly returns as Miss Valentine. Tiffany, of course, is back in Jennifer Tilly form, and I like that they acknowledge her as both Jennifer Tilly and Tiffany, which ties back into Seed. I just love her. And there was a scene, which I'm not gonna spoil, that was bound to be a dream come true. Now let's move on to our dislikes. My biggest issue with this movie is like a two-stepper. First part being that because everything is really white, Chucky doesn't creep around. You can see him 100% of the movie. In part with that, he just looks really fucking awkward because he's always standing in a big open wide shot. It's weird looking.
This film was a little confusing in how all the characters were kind of tied in because it made it seem like there was more to it with how they were building their sessions.
And it definitely seemed like everybody in that building had something to do with Chucky.
And you don't get that, and it's kind of disappointing.
The same can be said for the end of the film, to be honest. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it was really lackluster, and I was actually kind of upset with how it ended. I didn't even know it was ending, and it just kind of ended. In fact, I paused the film to go make a new drink, and we had 6 minutes left. I'm like, are you serious? Like, where's the fucking climax? There just isn't really a climax in this movie, and people are gonna be pissed off. They build it up way too much for where we have been with Chucky in many other films. And this one, it wasn't as dark as Curse, and it wasn't as funny as Seed or Bride. And so it's kind of in a weird spot. And frankly, I don't think it was executed as well as everyone's gonna hope it would be. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. As a huge Child's Play fan, I was really excited to see Cult of Chucky, and unfortunately, it did let me down. It seems off a bit. I don't know if that's the wide camera shots or the white rooms that he's placed on. He just seems completely out of place in almost every scene. I think the editing is also really awkward. They did some weird split shots, and sometimes that could be really artistically cool, but like they did it one time. If you're gonna be artistic when in your cuts and your edits, then it should be consistent. And there are just like a lot of other little things that I didn't enjoy the movie, but mainly the pacing, I think. The pacing, it's really, really drawn out. And there was a lot of aspects that was just kind of like, okay, let's get on with it. And then there's no climax to the film. So it just kind of drizzles off before it even begins. Like, it felt like just like a slope upwards that kind of dipped off at the end, and then that's where a good Chucky movie would begin. It's not necessarily a bad movie, but I do think it's the worst Child's Play movie. So I'm gonna give this 2.5 bloody nipples out of 5.
Cult of Chucky was kind of a disappointment for me because it didn't feel as though it belonged in this franchise. Yes, it had Chucky, and there was some aspects to it that we're familiar with, but overall, the story just didn't feel right, and Chucky's character himself didn't feel like the Chucky that we were hoping for. There are some good things in this film, and I do like how the kills are presented, and when we do see Chucky be Chucky, it's entertaining and it's fun. But as a whole, the movie does fall flat. The story was too confusing, and all of the characters just didn't seem to fit in, and it didn't mesh well. But I would definitely check it out because it's still a fun watch. It's just not fun in comparison to the franchise. So with that being said, I'm gonna have to give this film 2.5, Chucky getting a Kent crew cut out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't, it is available on Netflix right now, and there's also a 7-movie Chucky collection that just came out on Blu-ray. Links are in the description. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.